Hey, welcome to my channel, or welcome back, loyal viewers. I'm Kerry, the nosy housefrau, and today I'm sticking my nose in on the hot topic of the second installment of Shane Dawson's Beautiful World of Jeffree Star, titled The Secrets of the Beauty World. This time, instead of going on the road with Jeffree, we went behind the scenes in his secret facility. Well, it was a secret until they posted photos. You know, internet bloodhounds can find your house from a picture of your sock drawer these days. Show a photo of a crumb on your kitchen floor and you're as good as doxxed. Good thing we're vloggers and not in the witness protection program. This episode was even more revealing than the first and caused a big tea-splash across the internet when it was revealed that Nikkie Tutorials got a terrible deal with Too Faced. I'll get to that shortly. First, I want to talk about the lead-up. This was the day of Shane's first meeting with Jeffree and his team. We go from Shane's house, where Ryland is adorable figuring out his cut. There were some belly laughs there going over the 5% he had calculated. Next, Shane arrives at Jeffree's warehouse, bearing a gift, a multi-flavored Slurpee, of course, and Jeffree greets him with joy. They go into Jeffree's warehouses, yes, warehouses plural, where Jeffree is practically floating on air, showing Shane the whirlwind of his rapid expansion. Shane is seemingly blown away by his friend's success. I got the feeling the entire day was surreal for him. It got a little awkward when we see a bunch of sister apparel and Jeffree comments that James Charles is killing it with his merch. We see a large area of the warehouse that a man tells us has to be filled weekly because it's selling that fast. I felt an inward cringe. It was what I imagined it would be like to be a wedding guest at Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth's wedding, listening to the toast about how those two kids are going to make it forever and ever. But the big news was just beginning. In the meeting room, Jeffree agrees to do something unprecedented and talks about the numbers. Now, I don't know about you, but I love numbers, especially when they are profit margins. It's fun to think of the possibilities, and the numbers are there, so let's take a look at them. Jeffree doesn't just stick to talking about the finer points of Shane's collab. He openly reveals that the blood sugar palette costs $20 to make, and that he was told to ask more for his palette retail, but chose not to. He explains that his competitors get a bigger profit, but sell less, and although we don't know the volume or exposure his competitors might have, I'm inclined to believe there could be truth to that. Let's take, for example, Kat Von D. She is selling in every Sephora store, but she's also surrounded by competition in every Sephora store. She has palettes that are around $36 to $39 online at Sephora. She also has her Kat Von D Beauty website, but she doesn't have nearly the online presence that Jeffree does, so I'm guessing she doesn't get quite as much traffic. She's also an anti-vax numpty. So the question is, who has more exposure? Who has a better profit margin? How many ways is Kat Von D's pie getting sliced up in terms of her profit? And also, how much are they making in the websites? According to the internet, Jeffree Star is worth more than Kat Von D, who made apparently about $12 million the year her items launched. None of these people are broke. But back to Jeffree's numbers. Something in the background of the boardroom caught my eye, and it supports Jeffree's claim about numbers. When they stand up at one point, we see an easel board in the background. At the top is scribbled DD 2017. This was filmed a while ago, maybe. I believe that the DD here stands for the business term due diligence, but that's just a guess. I don't think we can determine if the numbers apply to a day, a week, or more. However, it's interesting to note that they are calculating the conversion rate. That's the number of sales you get divided by the number of visits, so you can see how much of your traffic turns into sales and you know how well your website is doing. On the left, we see the traffic comes from Instagram. They show 1,363 orders out of 150,337 visits. Given the average cost to Jeffree's merch, those sales could easily be upwards of $40,000. Not too shabby. But it should be mentioned that this chart could be something they just used for demonstration or training purposes and not necessarily reflective of real numbers. I just thought it was fun to speculate. Shane was shocked at how much the blood sugar pallet cost to make, and I admit I thought it would be at least half that. But given where and how they manufacture, it's not that shocking. Jeffrey stated that he didn't want to set the price higher, and I think that was a good call on his part. He said his goal was to perfect eyeshadow, and he felt he had done that. I believe that's a mindset that achieves the success he's had. When you have that drive and you think like that, the money will follow. Jeffrey said several times it's not about the money for him, and I could just hear his detractors saying, "Yeah, sure, Jan, you don't get to be a millionaire because you're allergic to money." But in fact, Jeffrey proved his own point when he discussed Shane's cut. They said 70-30, and like Shane, like most listeners probably, I assumed Shane was getting 30%. Seemed like a good deal to me, given that Jeffrey's company was handling everything from manufacturing to marketing. But in fact, my jaw dropped just like Shane's when they told him the 70% was his cut. Speaking of cuts, Jeffrey said he felt Shane brought more to the table than Manny, and that's why he was getting a larger cut. And that sure seemed like a razor-sharp slice to me. Moving on. When talking about the creation of Shane's line, Jeffrey said he came up with the name Illuminati. Well, a couple of you realized you've heard a housefrau near you coin that exact word right here on this channel and on Twitter. I even had my beat to go with it. And remember, Mango said we were all like part of knowing Jen Gerard. I like to call it the Illuminati. So I have my pajamas on and my Illuminati. But I'm truly 100% confident they didn't get it from this little channel. And certainly anything with T in the title is going to be ripe for puns. I could no more blame Jeffrey for stealing that from me than I could say he came up with blood sugar based on my last doctor's visit. I hope he didn't. On top of that, it's not something I had trademarked anyway. I wasn't the slightest bit slighted. In fact, although I had nothing to do with it, I felt oddly flattered just because I had thought of it too. As for blood sugar, Jeffrey showed Shane how much money he made on it, and give or take $1 million, it was near $20 million. So Jeffrey may not have made $50 million, but he has more than enough and seems to know that. Do you ever feel like only Forrest Gump knew that? Nope, Jeffree Star knows it too. People can say they are not greedy, but it seems to me Jeffrey has proven it. It was like watching someone win the lottery. Shane was so stunned he went into the bathroom and cried. He's been successful, but he was just told his ship has come in a big way. It was surreal, and by far my favorite part was when he couldn't even form words. When he went back into the room with his lashes still moist, he was practically speaking in tongues. Jeffrey didn't laugh at him, didn't make him feel stupid. He just soaked up Shane's joy, and you could tell that was his motivation. That's the sincerity you can't fake. One of my favorite quotes is, "And so shines a good deed in a weary world." Shakespeare did say that first, but I like to credit Willy Wonka. Shane said he would be making some calls because now he knows he's been effed. But the fact is, the crap deals he's gotten before are the rule, not the exception. Jeffrey's deal is the exception. Most businesses are not this generous. Everyone, especially starting out, gets screwed. They know they're going to get screwed. The industry knows it. But you take it because our dreams have power over us. And companies know how much people will sacrifice for a chance at the brass ring. Which brings me to Nikkie Tutorial's deal. Nikkie supposedly signed a deal for $50,000 back in 2016. It was a one-time flat rate. No residuals would be to follow, and that was in the contract. According to Jeffrey, that was $50,000. And correct me if I'm right, but isn't Nikkie from the Netherlands? What may have started out as dollars might have become euros. In 2016, when she made her deal, the exchange rate was about 0.95, such that it would have been roughly 45,000 euros before taxes. It's even less now. But here's the thing. When the entertainment industry, including modeling, took to social media, there were no rules for how talent would get paid. Actors had to fight to get Netflix residuals, etc. Residuals aside, Normally, in any entertainment industry, you get paid more as you work more. For example, my son started his pilot quotes at about $14,000, but in a couple of years, he could negotiate much higher, $24,000 or more per episode, based on his experience in all of those pilots that never saw the light of day. By the time he had done his second movie, he was on what they call Schedule F, and the residuals from all of his work continue to this day. He was 10, and he didn't get screwed. Now that's acting. Nikkie is in an odd place because although it's technically print work, she's a spokesperson who was already a social media personality, and that's the gray area. It was an undefined role, and it seems to me that because of that, Too Faced was able to put her in the bracket of a new, unknown print model. They could ignore any power social media might have, in spite of the fact that studies showed even then, that years before 2016, most young people considered online fame to be true and genuine fame. Too Faced could treat Nikkie like a total newcomer in spite of her having over 1 million subs at the time. She was also with a management company on YouTube. Many feel she was underpaid given that Too Faced made millions off the launch. Allegedly. Here's a tweet from Nikkie, as well as my response. I signed my contract with Too Faced back then because I was naive and didn't know better. At the end of the day, I signed it, it's my own fault, but what I'll never forgive is that allegedly they changed the palette's quality behind my back. Thousands of negative reviews, and I was clueless. I applaud your view about signing, but the fact remains, Too Faced exploited your naivete and underpaid you without looking back, even with the massive profits. I could hire someone to clean my house for $8 an hour, but my integrity prevents it. Shame that greed gets called good business. Nikkie is referring to the assertion that Too Faced sent her one product she could rave about, then cut corners on a worse product that many didn't like, allegedly. They were also accused of squashing many unfavorable reviews about their palette. I'm going to link Dustin Dailey's video below because regarding manufacturing and the ties this company has, he has some tea that will blow your mind up. Quality control aside, it needs to be said Too Faced didn't do anything a lot of companies wouldn't do in the interest of business. It cannot be a surprise that corporations pay as little as they can get away with. I went to Indeed.com, and you can take this with a grain of salt, but in the 37 reviews from former employees that I found, which I will link below, I discovered that many complaints about Too Faced were about money. Even reviews that were mostly favorable noted a problem with payroll. People complained of not making enough and even late or withheld paychecks. One review said, "Beware a company that withholds your pay after it was made clear that you would be paid for your time. I was told I was hired and asked to come in for training. After the training, I received an email stating that my services were no longer needed. My reply to the email was understanding, and I inquired how to get paid for the training I just attended. The response was that since they changed their mind, I no longer would be compensated for my time. I couldn't believe the nerve. How can a company with such deep pockets backpedal like that? Honor your word. It is illegal to withhold wages under any circumstance." And I don't know how long the training was, but that is correct. Even if it was an hour, you cannot expect people to train for free. That is unlawful. So if that is true, that is definitely an unscrupulous practice. In addition to more criticism about money, there were also some positive reviews, so I'll leave the link and you can make of that what you will. The Twitter drama rages on, however, on that one, and the owner of Too Faced, Jared Blandino, has a sister, apparently, who has not held back in calling Nikkie unprofessional and a liar. What I love about this is the exact platform that allowed companies to take advantage of people like Nikkie is also going to be the game changer, and that's social media. People never knew that companies were taking advantage the way they have been. Remember old Hollywood? There were people considered absolute glamorous stars, but few people knew that they were owned by the studios, lock, stock, and barrel, for pennies. Let's hope the bar gets raised, and if for no other reason than their reputation will be destroyed, perhaps companies will pay their talent a better wage. At the very least, a spokesperson who is the face of a product launch and bound by contract to not work with another company for a set amount of time will get more than a pittance. We certainly can't leave it up to corporations like Too Faced to do the morally decent thing. So I loved this installment of the series. I can really get behind the rarity of that deal that shocked me to the core. What makes Jeffree Star unique is that even as his company grows, he has made the decision to not be greedy. He's not afraid of losing everything he has if he's not money grabbing at everything. That is irrefutable. Those numbers don't lie. Generosity is something we don't see enough of in this world. That's why I cried right along with Shane. And do you think when Ryland finds out about the 70, he'll expect more than 5%? I know I would. If you've listened this far, I really appreciate you. I'm looking forward to your thoughts in the comments. Did you like it? Did you cry? I bet many of you did. It wasn't just me. What are your feelings about 2F'd now? Are they too canceled? And what do you think the next installment will hold? You know we're leading up to the fallout of the JC friendship, but I'm guessing that's a few more episodes in. If you'd like to support this channel, there are links below to my Patreon, where for $1 a month you can get exclusive live streams, after shows, and uploads. I will list my Teespring below for merch, because I'm very bad at pushing my Teespring. Or you can just comment, like, and subscribe. Your view is more than enough, and I'm grateful to have it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for your continued support, everyone. Until next time, Hausfrau out.